I crossed the border to Mozambique in the afternoon and headed for Maputo because I realized I would need to see a dentist as I had lost a crown from one tooth. The dentist from Nelspruit is in Mozambique on holiday, so I booked into Terminus Hotel in Maputo and asked them to arrange a taxi to drop me off at the dentist. At the dentist rooms, there was no dentist, but there was a beautiful physiotherapist next door. I inquired if she offered treatments for toothache, but she encouraged me to come back after New Year's when most people will be sober again, even the dentist. I thought spending 3 days in Maputo may exceed my endurance, but I had underestimated my fortitude. I went for a tour of Maputo and ended at another shopping center. The first time I saw Maputo was in 2004. There were new developments next to old buildings full of bullet holes from the 17-year-long civil war that followed independence. The expansive metropolis by the end of the uncivil war in 1992 was held together by gravity, bullet holes and spirit, capital of the poorest country in the world. As it stands today, Maputo seems to be where the country's capital is being transformed by capitalism. They don't yet call it capitalism and still value street names like Mao Zedong and Kim Tu-sung. But new developments and restorations are fast outgrowing the bullet-pocked evidence of the freedom they celebrated for 17 years. Mozambique exports electricity to South Africa from the Cahora Bassa hydroelectric dam in the north and re-imports electricity back from South Africa, where we have more blackouts than the Ukraine. So the beautiful modern city of Maputo now have modern problems such as traffic congestion and more lights than electricity. It was called Lorenzo Marx by the Portuguese and was known for its vibrance and vivaciousness back then. Presently, the atmosphere of the city can still be felt and seem to have been kept alive by the people who are friendly, helpful, or eager to render service or sell their wares. The cops are especially energetic and capitalize on the ambiguous road signs that may take one upstream in a one-way straight where the cops expect your Garmin navigator would take you. It is a place so deprived of Europeans that one's skin tone is no more than a curiosity, as it has no political significance. There is no white guilt in Mozambique. The disparity between rich and poor is worse than ever, but it is devoid of color. The guilty hide behind banners shouting freedom and revolution, but the revolution became obsolete in 1975. The Maputo port is a natural estuary fed by a collection of rivers, none of which facilitate river transportation inland, but allowed the Portuguese to settle in 1495. They liked the place and decided to stay, adopting a different demographic strategy than the Calvinistic farmers of South Africa. Such local maidens as could be loved, coerced, or purchased bore children to the Portuguese, far away from home, and in the next 500 years introduced a genetic variance to the local population that looks quite exotic. Of course, after a year on oil rigs, one's view of beauty becomes less cultural, more biological. Anyone without a stubble beard and orange overall deserves a second look, which make life so painful among multitudes of beautiful semi-naked women roaming the streets of Australia. Sexual harassment and a second look may be one and the same thing. If she thinks you're ugly, your existence is an harassment to her. If she thinks you handsome, she can tell what a decent guy you are. A decent Australian will wear a stubble beard, pictures of dragons all over his body, and clothes from the Salvation Army. They have rejected the snobbery from their English ancestry and turned it upside down. The redeeming property of these women is, however, that they hardly ever notice men, and when they do, will deliberately ignore them to display their own pedigree. They take the Pareto principle quite literally. They know to ignore 8 out of 10 men who are not worth their attention.
Women find 80% of men unattractive. Say things like, oh, he's medium ugly. And 1 out of 3 men either are virgins or haven't had sex in the past year. But if most women are having sex, that means they're having sex with the same guys. That's why do you think women say things like men are trash, all men cheat? It's because we're dating the same ones.
The only way to get noticed is to be seen at least 8 times, or surround yourself with 8 other guys. Australian men has figured it's better to buy 10 beers to 10 girls, as the lottery will award you 2 options. But 50% of women are under average. The one that is left is your lot. Take it or leave it. This explains why Australia has not had a positive birth rate since 1970, when feminism went down under. I'm sure men should and do learn a lot from women, but so should women learn from men. To help you process male admiration in a more constructive manner, my advice is simple. Follow our example. I have yet to hear a man complain about women expressing their admiration, attraction, or lust. Even when the attendant at a street corner broadcasts their affections, I have felt many sensations from amazement and pity to desire. But I have never in my life experienced insult upon discovering a woman's interest. I suspect the paucity of such affections do make it more bearable. But having experienced the nightlife in Pattaya, Thailand, where some women have penises, I can state with certainty that the cerebral lobe responsible for self-pity because a woman wants to take off my clothes is entirely missing. In Perth, I had the misfortune of sitting with a typing pool where a steady stream of lovely-looking women would come and go as our workload ebbed and flowed, and then I listened to the conversations among these women. Knowing when to get divorced is a science they study, debate, theorize, and advise upon. The question I was hoping to hear was, why would I divorce my husband? He has a warship tattoo on his chest. But instead the question sounded more like, how long before your husband's retirement fund is worth more than he is? The next question was implied, not spoken aloud. What are your chances of scamming another sucker into marriage before you hit the wall? These appear to be the fundamentals of loving relationships in Perth. But simple as it seems from an accounting perspective, calculating when a woman hits the wall is very subjective. They believe as long as men try to bed them, they are marriage material. From men's perspective, any woman who is raising someone else's child had lost the hope of return on investment. She may still be useful on a 3-month lease, but after 3 months, the de facto marriage laws will end the romance. The laws women fought for are keeping them single. At around 3 months of dating, the music stops and the man risks losing what's left since the previous divorce. Aussies in this position will resort to importing wives from Thailand or the Philippines and of course face the accusation, she only wants you for your money. But men don't much mind sharing their money with their family, unlike women who prefer to share her ex's money with Mr. Y and Mr. Z. While working night shift on an oil platform, my colleague was going through his emails when he suddenly started crying. I thought he got soap in his eyes, but he turned his PC screen for me to read the email. Basically, his wife, who just turned 40, came to the realization that she is much more elegant and valuable than him. She feels the only correction would be for him to just EFT his contributions in future. He paid for her studies and she now has finally finished her degree in feminist philosophy. Statistically, marriage is most often initiated by men and divorce is initiated by women. Of these women, 90% are university graduates. Between grants from the government, her ex and her next, she expects to sustain her weekly massage and pedicures. When he comes back from the oil platform every second week, he can have the kids so she can have time to find another sucker. My colleague's biggest mistake was to allow his superannuation to become more valuable than himself. Of course, God made the same mistake. We tend to value creation much more than our Creator. As women do with men, we pretend he does not exist. Upon my return from a trip to Thailand, a bunch of male colleagues came to my office to listen to tales of true love and romance. and I failed not to indulge them with my own amazement at virtually turning into Tom Cruise the moment I disembarked from the plane in Bangkok. After being treated like fresh air by civilized women, both in South Africa and Australia, it was truly refreshing when women in Thailand noticed my existence. The Zulus in Africa greets by saying Sawubona, which literally means I see you. That is exactly how I felt in Thailand, visible. If you subscribed already, you will see me in the next video. If not, please subscribe.